Hello everyone, I'm the Reefer here, bringing you growth log number 3. So it's been probably just over a month since the last growth log that I did for you, so let's have a look at how the tank is doing. First of all, we'll just go through sort of a couple of new additions. I have got this button scully from the local shop that I go to. Obviously it was half dying. It is actually, I think it's grown since I've put it in the tank. But it was 20 quid. And I thought for 20 quid it's worth a punt to try and get it to recover. So we'll see how that one goes. Let's go up to some of the SPS first. As you can see, I haven't got my lens on this because I thought I'd do it in white light for today. So it's just under the sort of the whites of the tank. This forest fire digi always grows well. It never ends growing well. Same with the green slimer, bit of unknown coral. Now interestingly, these two at the top, this one down here and this one there, they both discoloured quite a bit when I put them in. They bleached out when I put them at the top of the tank. And I couldn't really bother to move them, to be fair. So I left them, and they're actually starting to get their colour back now. So that's quite good. My laziness may have paid off for that one. Going down here, obviously my acans are doing well, as I seemed to like doing, which is part of the reason why I went for the Scully, because the LPS seems to do well. So this has got several heads on it now. I think that was 2 heads. We're now up to, what's that, 5 on that, so that's doing well. This one, a couple of months ago, wasn't looking too happy, but that's got 2 big heads on, and there's another one starting to grow. These 2 that are the same just continually keep growing new heads. There are loads underneath, as you can see, growing as well. This Zoa Pally thing seems to be growing out quite nicely. The chalice is doing well, seems to be curling up a bit more on the edges, and I think that's purely due to the flow of the tank going backwards and forwards, but it still looks quite cool like that. I gauge how far it's grown by the back of this rock, and it was just touching that rock when it went in this tank, and it's growing up really nicely over the top. That trachea doesn't really seem to grow much. It seems quite happy and puffed up, but it seems to be growing quite nicely. This random, again, don't know what it's called, random bit, seems happy. I'm not sure if it's really grown much. I'd have to look back at the videos, to be fair, but it's not something I look at and go, yeah, that's grown. On the other hand, this bit of Monty at the back is encrusting on the rock, lovely. And it's really starting to grow out over as well, so I'm very pleased with the way that one's going. These mushrooms up here, I think there's another head off there at the back. So I think this was like 2 when I put it on there, and that's about 5 now. Same as these ones. They're growing lovely. This one on the side was just an off spur of that one, but that's now growing out really nicely. And there's a couple of little heads down here, but that's where there's less light, so I wouldn't expect to see a lot there. These mushrooms, it's not really much room for them to grow out because they're competing with that one, but they've got a nice bit of colour to them. I was considering trying to move over to this rock because I moved that there because it had some Aptasia on, and it was a corner of the tank for a new copper band to sort of get to, but I kind of wedged this rock up on here with that, so I'll leave it alone. Speaking of the copper band, there he is. He's in the tank a couple of weeks now. He's eating all my Aptasia. He is eating frozen from the water column. There's also, I found some old bits of filter to give him a little feeding hole. So I put some mastic in that with some brine shrimp and mysis mixed in with it. This bit of SPS isn't looking the happiest, but it was on the rock over there and it kept falling off, so I've wedged it in here to grow out and give some more life to that part of the tank. Let's go back round. Now, these zoas on this rock have never really done that well down there. They're actually reasonably well under the light, but they are down towards the bottom of the tank. again, they should be growing quite well, but actually thinking about it now, maybe they're just getting zapped by the sweeper tentacles of this. I've not seen it happening, but that might explain why there's certain bits that are dying off, but they've died off on the other side as well. But in my experience, Zoas can be one of the sort of finickiest corals. They can really be great, and then they can just melt away for absolutely no reason. It wasn't an expensive rock, so I'm not too concerned about it. And my local shop has got some lovely green and orange Lobos in at the minute, so that might have to get moved over. The Elegance is doing well. In considering some of the previous videos, it was nice and big, and then I upped the flow in the tank, and it kind of sulked. But I've persevered, I've left the flow going, and it's come back. But it's actually it's hugging around that rock, and it's got quite a nice sort of shape to it. And when you look at the tank down this side, it's really nice and bright. It's got a nice shape to it. Some nice lines in it as well. I've got my Duncans here now. I've previously had really good growth on my Duncans, but not so much here. They seem to be out and open and happy, but they don't seem to be growing that many new heads. But they look really good there. The heads are getting bigger, but they've not sprouted that many new heads. That might just be the flow. But due to having a bit of an issue with ick with that powder brown that I put in the previous videos, I was overfeeding a bit. And I have been feeding a bit extra for the copper band to get it eating as well, so I suspect my nutrient levels have gone up a little bit in the tank, but I've changed out my Riophos and I've reduced the feeding back load now, so it should settle. But saying that, most things seem to grow. You know, it's only one or two bits, those Zoas and those Duncans, they seem to be doing well, they're just not growing that much. Even this bit of SPS over here is actually coming out and encrusting on the rock quite nicely. The only bad bit about that bit of coral is it doesn't really pop under the blues, which is a bit annoying, but same as these sort of two red ones, don't really fluoresce. They've got polyps on them, so they look to be the right colour, they just don't seem to really pop. So I have got my eye on a nice bit of sort of yellowy Montipora, I think it is, at the shop, so that might have to go in my tank without the wife noticing. Got this little colony of Zoas here as well, seems to be doing quite nicely. And that Pavona at the back. Now, that's quite high up in the tank, so it should be getting quite a bit of light, but I have noticed with the Maxspecs that it doesn't kick that much light back. Well, it does a bit, obviously you can see it on the wall, but the light coming back doesn't seem to shine up quite as much as it does going forwards. I have got them, if I show you from the side, I've got them more, say middle, but I think the light does push more forwards than back, or it's just because I clean the glass at the front and it's not got any backing on it, maybe it's a bit more reflective, whereas the glass at the back, as you can see, I've got a little bit of algae and coralline and stuff growing in places, so maybe that's not bouncing as much light back. I could think about moving it, but it is growing. It's not going stupid amounts, but it is definitely growing, and it's puffed up, and it's nice to have a bit of sort of life in the middle of the wall. I'm probably going to stick some coral on the back wall at some point. I'm just deciding what. I'm half tempted to try and get some sort of encrusting Monty, chuck it on the back wall to see, because I've never done very well with GSP, which is why I got these couple of fairy mushrooms to go at the back. Now that one at the top actually goes much bigger, but literally just as I started filming the video, you can see around the back, a hermit crab crawled all over it, so that's obviously upset it. Filtration is pretty much the same. The only change I have made really since the last video is this Tunzi light I had down in this corner, because I moved my refugium from this bigger chamber over to here because I didn't want it clogging up the skimmer, and I had to move the skimmer from here into this chamber when I put the filter roller in, obviously because of this big motor. If you actually fork out and get Clara C1, you won't have that problem, and looking at the Red Sea one, I suspect that will probably fit, but I was lazy with the pipe work. I didn't want to muck with the pipe work too much. So by putting the roller in at this angle, let me come back on. It fitted in better with minimal change to the pipe work. I just rotated it slightly rather than having to do anything major. But saying that, my refugium is now growing better. Now I've put that there, so that'll put me levels back to where they should be. Clean the toothbrush there. Skim out, I'm running sort of quite thick at the moment. And I've got some Aptasia, not that you can really see it on the video, growing in that part of the sump. That's why I've chucked this rock there to try and grow some Aptasia on it, to go in as another bit of feed for the copper band. So other than that, that's all the changes in the tank really. So any questions, leave them below, and thanks for watching.